Good afternoon, Atlanta. You're listening to the new WCEG Network. We are Veterans Helping Veterans. I'm uh, one of the co-hosts, Herman Anderson. My other co-host is Anthony C. Aiken. Our guest today is retired Sergeant Major. I get it right. He's retired. When I read his bio, I get it right. He's retired from the military, Germany, M. Walker. And after I finish doing all the housekeeping and giving you invitation, we'll get started. We we are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life in the community. As was mentioned earlier, you have several options to watch or listen to us today. Uh, that watch live stream, Facebook, YouTube, WCEG Talk Radio, WCEG TV Channel, WCEG Network, www.WCEG Talk Radio, uh, in Veterans Helping Veterans Today. Those are options that you have to watch us as we get started on this Friday and provide you a lot of information regarding the VA claim process, and we hope we empower and help quite a few people. Uh, the not the disclaimer is the topic and opinion are those of the show hosts and guests, and not WCEG Network. WCEG is a nonprofit. We would love your donation. Our business office is 404-490-8646. 404-490-8646. Good afternoon, Brother Anthony.
Good afternoon, Brother Herman. How are you? And it's always a pleasure to see you. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And it's always a great time for us to get together on Veterans Day Talk Radio. And today we have an outstanding guest that you see on our view page here, who's been a guest before. And he's going to be providing us some great information for veterans who are going through the process to get their benefits and compensations after a distinguished military career. So welcome, Mr. Jeremy M. Walker. How are you?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
I am just doing fabulous, man. It's so good to have you back with us. And I know our listeners out there just waiting for some of the top news, some of the changes and some of the things that you and other veteran service officers are involved with, because the VA system is rapidly changing and things that could cause frustrations among veterans. So welcome, and we look forward to getting your insight.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, let me read some of your bio because it's great. Uh, Germany Walker hails from Georgetown, South Carolina, where his journey of service began with his enlistment in the Army National Guard at the remarkable age of 16, graduating from Pleasant Hill High School. Just a year and a half later, he embarked on a distinguished career in the military, initially as an artilleryman in the active army. Uh, Germany's path took a pivotal turn following a training accident leading to his reclassification to military intelligence, where he dedicated 22.5 years his life in service to this country. His tenure accumulated in retirement from Fort Gillem, Enclave, Georgia, where he held the esteemed position of Senior Geospatial Intelligence Officer and Instructor for the Army groundbreaking processing, exploitation, and dissemination drone program. Throughout his illustrious career, he amplified courage, leadership, earning accolades such as prestigious Bronze Star for valor during comeback in Afghanistan. And I'm going to read the next part because it's important to all veterans. Upon retiring Germany transitioned seamlessly into a civilian role as a system engineer, technical advisor at Alexandria, Virginia, before pursuing higher education at American International University, where he earned a Bachelor of Art in Business Administration. Un, un, Undeterred by challenges, he swiftly achieved a Master of Arts in Organizational Leadership with a flawless 4.0 CPA from the University of Massachusetts Global, all while caring for his father's three sons during all while caring for his sister's three sons while during her military deployment amidst the pandemic shutdown. And currently, Jeremy serves as vice chair of the Atlanta Veteran Entrepreneurs Group, Veteran Service Officer for the American Legion Post 296, residing in Marietta, Georgia. He remained devoted to his faith, principle of servant leadership, embodying a dedicated, selfless service. That's was one important that he's a certified service officer, and we need more of them. And one more thing, he's the founder of Helmets to Boots Foundation and LLC, Army retired first class Army Sergeant first class retired. Yeah, I hope I got it right. How
Well,
you
Herman,
got it?
yeah, you got it right because you said some magic words that he was from South Carolina. Oh boy, he has some true Gullah roots coming from Georgetown area, and I know it quite well. So, welcome home, boy, former soldier in the military and all that. So it's great to have you on our show today. Great introduction. Yeah,
you guys for having me again.
So tell us what's new going on in the world of VSO right now.
So right now, the organizational change, the Georgia Department of Veteran Services is like really being proactive on trying to make sure all of us get taken care of. And so with talking with the department head, which was Miss Vita Brooks, she's been working to make sure that all the VSOs in the American Legion and VFWs, a lot of those guys are not accredited. So what they do is we can help you to a certain degree, but now you got to go to an accredited service officer in order for them to process your paperwork. So look at me in the American Legion, and I got a bunch of resources and stuff that I can help you when it comes to family crises. But when it comes to filing your claim, you need to find an accredited officer. And if you look in the news, there's a bunch of organizations that are now under fire because they've been taking advantage of veterans. Say if you go to certain law firms and they charge you, or you go to a certain company and they charge you, if you're not reading the fine print, if you go from 0% to say 100%, you're looking at $4,000 a month for the rest of your life. Well, if you sign certain paperwork, you might be giving up a huge part of that $4,000, say 30%, every month for the rest of your life. And that's why the accreditation is so important, because it is huge. It's a lot of money involved and it's a lot of time.
So, I also Vita is a good friend. So, what are you guys working on that would, like, for an example, help my organization?
So, one of the things we're doing at the Post 296 is that we're trying to go to digital. Well, the American Legions and VFWs are not known to have like a classroom. Well, what if I told you we're implementing those classes within the next couple of months so you can have that? We're bringing in, me personally, I formed a team of a coalition of willing of subject matter experts that'll teach you about your VA home loan specifics. I'm giving classes specifically on how the VA process goes, how to file a claim and so forth, and who do you need to go through, what organizations can actually help you. And then we have an estate planning attorney and so forth to make sure that the whole process from beginning to end, you're covered. You and your family members are covered. So
I got two questions out of that. One is, so I don't say we because I'm a member of also the American Legion. So we Now, once we help the veteran get everything in order, uh, we will have available qualified and certified claim agent or veteran service officers that are qualified and certified that we can recommend.
Yes, sir. So
And
with
that's what
looking at you as an organization, like you look at the Legions and the VFWs, our job is to really push towards getting to basically the Georgia Department of Veteran Services because they have the accreditation. It's part of their job, you know. And again, when you want to see that accreditation, they can show it to you. But if you're dealing with somebody who can't show it to you, show you the paperwork saying I am officially accredited veteran service officer, you don't want to deal with them.
Okay.
That's interesting. I mean, to hear you say that for a number of years, a lot of VSOs are not accredited or certified. So are you saying that they were giving misinformation or didn't have enough knowledge among themselves to help guide a veteran through the bureaucratic process of the VA?
So I wouldn't say they're giving out misinformation because we all know certain things within our job position. So the misconception is, well, hey, I'm going to a veteran service officer. Let's just say uh, Deloitte, you know, a major corporation. They can deem within their own company a veteran service officer, but it doesn't mean that they're accredited. That could be a veteran service officer specifically that deal with veteran issues or whatever case is, and maybe come up with a veteran training program, or hey, this veteran decided that he wanted to build a program to where it's veteran specific within that organization. But as far as an accreditation and how to file a claim, it doesn't mean that they're doing that. So some people use the title of VSO, veteran service officer, but doesn't mean specifically that they can help you with the process. So that's where we have to get a clear understanding. And if not, like again, the Legions, the VFWs, they have veteran service officers positions where we go through training. In fact, I just did one 2 weeks ago with Ms. Brooks, and it just made perfect sense. But the biggest thing is making sure that you get them situated with whatever the problem is and having that capability of getting them resources. So if you have a veteran say they're homeless, well, okay, I don't have to be accredited to help you get to the VA to do that. I just need to make sure I get you to a resource that can help you to make sure that you get out of that homeless situation. But as far as filing your claims, we definitely have to be accredited for that process. And the Georgia Department of Veteran Services pretty much has that covered. And then there are some law firms that actually have it. You know, you can go online and get accreditation through training and through different training programs.
How long does that, is it a self-paced, self-certification class, or is there a particular in a classroom environment that you will attend to become certified?
So that part I'm not too sure of, but I know that with some of the online training that I've actually attended, there's a law firm that actually gives you that works with the Department of Veteran Affairs, and you pay for those classes, but those are more for attorneys that are trying to get accredited to work with the VA.
I got you. I got you. I got you. Okay. I understand that. I understand the difference. So, well, have you seen an onslaught of VSO not being certified going to become certified? Are you seeing that happen, or is it a slow process for them to move forward?
So the turnover rate is great. Like I said, I just attended training with the Georgia Department of Veteran Services 2 weeks ago, and a lot of the VSOs from the American Legion were all brand new, like myself. And then we had a meeting with the VA last month. We had a training with the VA last month, and all the department heads came on board and were like, "Hey, we want to introduce ourselves. We want to help you guys, and then if you have issues, you can contact us directly in order to get problem solved." So I had a retired sergeant major that he was having surgery a week later, and he kept getting a runaround on certain things, and I was able to call one of the department heads and get him taken care of within 24 hours. So that's huge. So this network overall together is starting to do a lot better.
Okay. All right.
Well, let's talk about a lot of veterans that they're filing their first claim. And
Yeah.
to be honest with you, they just walk in empty-handed. They don't even have that DD-214.
Right.
So, and I know from experience, there's quite a bit of that has happened in the past. And one thing I mentioned on here was educating the person that filed the claim, your responsibility and accountability. So is that I know it's not part of the training process, it shouldn't be, but uh, from just your thoughts, how can we deal with that?
So you're right. It's not part of the process, but that's where I've gone and changed that throughout the Legion. And being that there's 250 American Legions in the state of Georgia, right? So under the 296, with me becoming a veteran service officer, what I've done was extended my business and extended out this team. Like I said, I have a coalition of the willing that came from professionals out of the Atlanta Black Chamber. So most of us in the veteran entrepreneur group have a business that's going to help the veteran along in the process. Well, the first thing you said was education. So my favorite phrase in the Bible is you perish for a lack of knowledge, right? Well, the easiest thing to do is create an environment where we can do that. So at the post 296, instead of us having, bingo and just drinking and so forth, what I'm doing is using that as a catalyst for us to create that training environment. And that's one of the things I do in my business. Well, you're right. You need to know to have a DD-214. You need to know what the process is. There's a regulation that covers this whole process, and none of us have been told that. You guys are like me, we all retired, and nobody told us in basic training about the CFR, the 38. That's the whole regulation that you need to know from day one. But then when you get out, that's not being taught in the transition course, because the transition course deal is to help you get out and get a job. Well, your disability, my VA brief was only 30 minutes. Well, I actually sit down with veterans right now for 2.5 hours and tell them specifics. Say, hey, this is what you need to know from the prerequisite. This is how the medical process is going to go. And you need to do a self-assessment of yourself, because guess what? Half the things you said earlier make perfect sense. We don't take credit over ourselves because we're coming from an organization and an institution that teaches us to suck it up and drive on. After a while, when you got these aches and pains and different things, you just say that's part of my norm, but that's actually a claim. So that's where we have to change that mindset. And now we come up with an educational system that does that. At least that's what 296.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head in regards to understanding the process. And Herman was leading you down that path.
Yes, sir.
But, the average veteran, and I run into this a lot, who have not filed a claim. And the reason they haven't filed a claim is because they don't understand the process.
Right.
They don't understand the process, and they're, for whatever reasons, are hesitant to go through the process, knowing that. But once they have sort of a checklist or a process that they can understand, that it starts with going to the VA to request a medical exam, benefits exam, and then making sure that you have all your ducks in a row. Your Form 14 or your medical records, even if it's from an outside physician, making sure that everything is in place. So when you do sit down with that VSO, you have a baseline of information for that person to follow. And for him or her to take a look at and say, you know what, this is all good, but we need X, Y, and Z to move forward with your packet. So making sure that you understand the rules of engagement. I love that phrase, the rules of engagement, to move forward, and then you can get to the process of getting it right for your benefits and compensations.
Well, the biggest thing is it's just like preparing for a promotion board. We've all done that in the military. So guess what? There's a checklist for your promotion board, right?
Everything a checklist, yeah.
Everything is already done. And what I do is I try to provide that checklist. And it's just like you said, Anthony. If you're walking into a VSO, you may only have an hour, and now you're trying to figure it out. How about walking to the VSO like you walk into a promotion board? You already got your packet done. You've already gone from head to toe and figured out the majority of what's going on with you, because we're not medical doctors and attorneys and so forth. And that's how the regulation is written up. But at least you have a sense of knowledge of yourself. Like, hey, I hit my head a couple of times and I didn't know that was a claim. Well, guess what? Let's sit down and talk about it and be like, you did hit your head. Let's quantify and qualify it just like we did on a eval. Well, how many times did you hit your head when you were in an aircraft and you were in the Air Force? I was an artilleryman. You know, that was the normal, riding around in a gun and you bouncing around. I'm 6'2". I wasn't built to be on the inside of this thing, but now I got a head injury from it. Well, nobody told me that that was a claim, and nobody's going to tell you that. So we need to have that understanding, like, hey, this is what the deal is. And the process is more simple, it's simpler than we think, but you just need to have somebody to lead you in it. And that's what I'm trying to provide for our community.
Yeah.
Let me, while we're talking about the Georgia Department of Veterans Services, there's an event going on at this time that I want to make our audience aware of. It's a Veteran Health and Wellness Fair, February the 16th, 2024, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the location is Hearts to Nursing Hope, 640 Highway 138 Southwest, Riverdale, Georgia. Again, Hearts to Nursing Hope, 640 Highway 138 Southwest, Riverdale, Georgia. And here are some of the things you can learn about: PAC Act claims, breast cancer awareness, domestic violence awareness, mental health awareness, suicide prevention, lethal means to safety, peer support, estate, and wills. You can get help for the Atlanta VA medical representative there. Mohawk School of Medicine is there. Clayton State University is there. There's a Dillon group, and it's sponsored by the Georgia Department of Veterans Services.
And that sounds like an old soldier SRP.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Sounds like an SRP lineup, you know.
So if you're listening and you got until 3 p.m. today, that's an opportunity.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, man. It's a great opportunity. But you know, the biggest thing that I find with veterans, and you may want to pitch in on that, Mr. Walker and Herman, is that procrastination. You know, they're just procrastinating and not wanting to move forward with it. That, oh, if I follow through with this, I may be taking benefits from another veteran and not even thinking about themselves, like you said, bumping your head on the inside of a tank. How many times?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of deal. And you know, we always had that answer: suck it up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. Suck it up. You're a soldier. You're a Marine, or you're an Air Force guy. You suck it up and push on. And then years later, when you retire, you can hardly get out of a chair.
Exactly.
Or you can't remember something.
Yep.
You know, and you're not sleeping at night. You got a heart issue or a prostate cancer issue or something from your service connection as a result of those injuries. So it's very, very important for a veteran, the family members, and everybody listening today on this radio show that there's help out there, but you can't procrastinate. You got to move forward, get it done, not only for yourself, but your generational family.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is it's our mentality. You know, we're coming out supermen, superwomen. So you're never thinking about the future. You're looking at the right now. And then case in point, like some of the changes in the military. You know, a lot of people are not making retirement anymore.
No.
The physical fitness has changed. There's med boards that's happening. You got 30 days now to put a soldier out after a med board. And within 30 days, they're trying to figure out, how am I going to eat? How am I going to do this? And then same thing with retirement. Even though the process has changed, you can do the transition course 2 years out now. But what is, if you don't have a mentor, just think about it. When we go from duty station to duty station, you normally, quote unquote, run into where you have your predecessor there and you're doing a right seat ride. So there's somebody that can help you try to transition into that spot. Well, when you get out the military, there is no battle buddy that helps you transition and so forth. And now all of a sudden you're like, Well, even if you took 2 years to get ready to get out, what are you preparing for? I don't know how to write a resume. I don't know what the VA claim process is. I don't even know where I'm going to live at. So, what are my state benefits? What are my federal benefits? So, that's what we're trying to change when it comes to the Veterans Entrepreneur Group. It's 69 of us that are already retired, or whether we get out medically and so forth, and we understand, hey, this is what the challenges that you face. Well, it's going to be great to have somebody to walk you through that. And then now you don't perish for a lack of knowledge. It's like, at least I know a little bit more than I would if I was getting out my own trying to figure it out. And that's part of my story. I've navigated for 7 years. This year be my 8th year in retirement. And I pretty much had to find all these different organizations on my own. So why not do it for the next man? I'm just giving back to my brothers and sisters in arms what I wish I had, and that's fixing things. The suicide rate, according to the Georgia Department of Veteran Services, has gone up. And it's not just within the veteran community itself, it's going into the family members and to these kids, because now the households are feeling the stress of mom and dad now becoming this person instead of being a soldier, sailor, marine, or an airman. And that transition is so huge. So can you imagine if we're going through that much pressure, how much is the family feeling it as well? So we really need to try to take a look at that and create this environment so we can de-stress a lot of the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of events, Anthony and myself, we talk about on this program building a relationship and networking. So I invite you to tell the audience about the event that you have coming up, the 24th. You have information on that you sent me the email.
Right.
Okay, tell us about it.
Okay, so I'm the Veteran Service Officer for the Paul E. Kelly Jr. American Legion in Post 296 in Marietta, Georgia. And what we decided to do was, because it's Black History Month, Paul E. Kelly Jr. was one of the first Black soldiers to receive a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart. He's originally from Marietta, and that's what I'll post his name after. So what we typically do is once a month we do a brunch, and we decided to we do a breakfast, but we decided to turn it into a brunch so people can sleep in a little bit, come in between 9 o'clock, get some breakfast, and then we start a workshop so we can start educating veterans on what their benefits are. Can you believe that if you're a disabled veteran, there's a program in the state of Georgia where you're entitled to a free tablet. So this information has not been put out. And now, hey, how do you use the tablet? We have another veteran, he has an IT company and so forth. And now we're willing to teach and do what we need to do. We're taking the Post 296 and actually making a computer lab. So now guess what? If you have your medical records, but they've been stored in your closet or they've been in the garage for so long, now we can help you upload them into My Healthy Vet. Most veterans don't even know that what My Healthy Vet is. So this is where the education piece comes in. And with the American Legion 296, just because this is 296, we're a part of an organization that has 250 legions. So this is what we want to try to do, is bring all the legions on board, all the VFWs, the Warrior Alliance, and so forth. This is going to be the start of that education piece to where we can change that environment that we talked about with us not knowing.
Knowledge is power.
Yes, sir.
I'm very familiar with your American Legion post because I was a member there for a couple of years myself. And I understand what they're trying to do there. But,
yes.
The very, very key point, though, I was listening with it. It's got a smile in the background. When you went through your transition program, you got 30 minutes of talk about the VA process. When I retired in 1999, I think we got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There was progress there. There was 5 minutes because they were, like you said, more adept to help you transition from the uniform to the business suit, to helping you with your resume, and not really preparing you to understand what's out there for you based on your possible service-connected injuries. Mm-hmm. That wasn't hardly discussed. And it's unfortunate because I retired at an era in 1999 where you still had a lot of Vietnam veterans around.
Right.
You know, and they hadn't gone through the Agent Orange database, and they didn't understand what was going on. We were still fighting to have that even recognized as an illness.
Yes.
You know, Agent Orange wasn't even thought about.
So Anthony, you mentioned Agent Orange, and I just got the Agent Orange newsletter, and it was my plan to read a couple of paragraphs out of it anyway. So that's what I'm gonna do at this time. In the Agent Orange newsletter, you can get it electronically, and actually I end up getting it both ways. I don't know why, but I'm gonna read a part of it about Agent Orange database in the PAC Act, and it's a couple of paragraphs. Vietnam era veterans, the PAC Act, and the Agent Orange Registry. Do you know the difference between the PAC Act, the Agent Orange Registry? The PAC Act, more formally known as Sergeant First Class, helped Heath Robinson Onanawa promise to address comprehensive toxic acts was signed into law on August the 10th, 2022. It expands health care benefits for veterans. The Agent Orange Registry help veterans understand possible long-term health problems that may be related to Agent Orange exposure. Learn more about the difference between these two initiatives. The PAC Act is the law that empowers the VA to provide expanded benefits and care to veterans who were exposed to environmental hazards during military services. It ensures that veterans enrolled in VA healthcare can receive an initial toxic exposure screening, and VA follows up screening at least every 5 years. And it is not a disability evaluation required for other VA benefits. Enrolled in the VA healthcare system is not required. And here are two numbers that you can call to get additional information. One is 1-877-222-8387. The other one is 1-800-827-1000. 1-877-222-8387 and 1-800-827-1000. So they both exist, and the PAC Act is the more current, and Agent Orange Registry, as Anthony and myself are Vietnam veterans. We know that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
We still have people that are not in it. So
nope.
And the other thing that you can do is go into My Healthy Vet. They actually have a portal where you can click in and talk to the PAC Act registry, and they'll actually give you feedback and give you calls and set up these appointments. And so your primary care, if you have issues and you think that you qualify for the PAC Act, you can discuss those with your primary care on the outside and the inside. So it's like, again, we perish for a lack of knowledge. We don't know these things. And then the VA has changed. If you look at from 2016 to now, when President Obama came in and changed them and put like some heat on them, it was like, hey, we got to get certain people out. We got to put certain people in. And with that change, yeah, we're going more digital. So we have to understand when you say Vietnam era, hey, right now you guys like 70 to 90 years old. Everybody's walking around with an iPhone and tablets and different things. So we got to have resources to help do that. And that's one of the things we're pushing within our organization, is to be able to have a computer lab to where you get that assistance. Well, yeah, you don't have to know how to use it, but if there's somebody there that can walk you through the process, or maybe even type it up for you. You know,
right.
you got.
Well, see, that's a hot button of both Anthony and myself. Is you mentioned My Healthy Vet. That's pretty much way, and what you said is the way the VA operates. And I mean, Anthony always says either you educate yourself enough to do it, or you get somebody to put it in for you, family member, friend, another
Yeah.
veteran, whoever.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
the way we are going.
Right. Right.
Yes.
You know, yeah. I'm sorry, go on. Mhm.
No, yes, I was in agreement, and that's pretty much what it is, because it makes it. COVID changed the world for most of us, right? We're used to that. We go on a deployment and we separate for a whole year, and then we're used to talking to our families and so forth virtual. But the rest of the world is playing catch up. So the VA saw that that's how we normally operate, and it works well once you're in active duty. But we also have to look at bridging a digital divide. So where do you have that at? You have it in the older community, which most, like you said, Vietnam veterans and so forth coming back to now. And hey, if I got a traumatic brain injury, I may not know how to use a computer and so forth. So
Correct.
those things, like you said, providing that resource, half of us want to try to get our family members to do that, and they don't understand the acronyms, or they don't understand what's a DD-214 is too much medical jargon, or it's too much military jargon and so forth. So this is why we were like, hey, let's try to do this internally. We make a small entity, and then we can replicate that throughout all the organizations. You know, Mr. Herman, you're an American Legion member, right?
I
Okay,
am.
you're the post commander. Your post is the same thing as my 296. So we're all one organization. So if you need help, what we were told in the training is, just because I'm the VSO at 296, I'm also your VSO as well. Because a
I'm
lot of
gonna
these
be I'm gonna be calling.
yeah,
Go
we're
ahead.
not filled.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if it's not filled, then you have to look at it from a different mindset and say, hey, it's not just within these four walls, it's within the organization. And that's how we'll fix the veteran community. It's
Yeah.
just being able to do that.
Yeah. Educating the community is so important. Educating the family is even more important.
Yes.
But again, you know, taking that first step to understand that there's help out there, there are people out there willing to help you. There's a checklist you can follow, and just be tenacious to get it done. You know,
Yes.
just being tenacious, because this is a system that's not designed to call you up. Hey, Mr. Walker, you retired about 5 years ago, and we have a pot of money over here waiting for you. All you need to do is come apply. That's not going to happen.
Yes.
That is not going to happen. It's going to take you, your family members, your cousins, and whatever, to get with you. Say, hey, oh, hey, Dad, whatever. You know, didn't you serve in Vietnam or Desert Storm, Afghanistan, or Iraq, and well, you got this limp. You got this limp going on now, and you can't sleep, and you know what's going on? Hey, there's help for him. There's help for him.
Yeah.
Would
There's
you
help.
would you mention some of the things you can do on My Health Event, like make appointments, cancel appointment, order subscription,
Sure.
prescription?
Yeah.
So that's the great part about it, is initially My Healthy Vet was designed for that, because the phone system is messed up. So most of us are used to calling, sitting there, listening to this thing going forever. And now you can go and you can change appointments, you can make appointments. You can actually instant message your primary care or your dentist or whoever's on board. You can reorder your prescription. So now you don't have to drive all the way to, to the VA to do that. That's been a big hindrance in veterans not being able to do self, maintenance. Then on top of that, you can look at your medical records and upload your medical records. So now, hey, if you go make a claim and it gets denied, but you've been seeing a civilian provider about it, well, the VA has no clue of what's going on with you. So now you scan that document in, or those documents, and then you send them to your primary care and ask them to add it into your medical records. And that's one of our biggest downfalls. I can retire, get a job with a corporation that offer me great benefits, so I don't have to go to the VA. But it's a service connected problem. And then somebody tell me to go make a claim for it. Well, yeah, I was being seen, but the VA's not tracking it. So having that knowledge is another thing too. And then what I try to do is, you talked about this earlier, Mr. Herman, is what's the process? Well, I do this thing called a VA ratings roadmap. First, you know the regulation, and you figure out, second, you know the verbiage. Then we do like a head to toe assessment for your VA disability claims. And then you have to provide the organizations that freely, because there's a bunch of them that do it for free. But remember the word accredited. So you may come to a VSO, American Legion, and we start the process, but you still have to go to accredited service officer to actually do the filing. And the reason you want to do that is because their system is linked to the VA, so they can track your claim. Well, if you do it yourself, which you can do online through va.gov, you don't know how that system works, and it's really hard to navigate. So that's where the veteran service officers or credit officers come into play. And then the last thing is understanding them resources. Well, what is it that I have to have coming out of the military? Well, you need to know the prerequisites. You need your DD-214. You need to get 2 copies of your medical records, 2 hard copies. Why? Because you want to always keep track of your stuff, because computers go down. And then you want to take those hard copies and scan it in and make a digital copy so you can upload it into My Healthy Vet. Or if you have the appeal going on, or you have to, show something immediately, you can use a computer and just find it within 5 minutes. Yeah. And then understanding My Healthy Vet. Well, how do I navigate it? Oh, it's really simple. It's just like any other website. But if you don't have the premium account, there's different accounts. Well, the premium account is the one that you need because it gives you access to your primary care. It's secured messaging. You can upload your medical records and different things. You can order supplies. That's underneath the premium account. And then how about, like, gentlemen, like you said yourself, I'm your Vietnam era, but you never went on sick call. Well, how do you recreate those medical records? Well, we can go through the archives and you can order those. We can order your medical records from your military history. But what about the process of me saying, well, I never went on sick call, but you have an ailment now, right? The way you tell your story is it happened to you in service, and you have to have a doctor that understands and write that specifically, that what you're talking about was related to your military service. So if I go in and get my ankle looked at and say my ankle hurt, the doctor don't know if I hurt my ankle today or I hurt my ankle yesterday. That's not service connected. But most of us don't go in it with that ideology of speaking so we can make it clear that this happened to us during service. And lastly with that is making sure that you got a buddy statement. Well, what is that? All of us served together in Iraq, right? Or we served together in Vietnam. But a presumptive that they gave you in the PAC deck is Agent Orange. As long as your DD-214 shows the dates that they're looking for, or you fall within that time frame, well, guess what? I got Agent Orange. Herman, you got Agent Orange. Anthony, you got it. But we were all in the same platoon. Well, I saw that this stuff came down, and I wrote a statement for you, and now all of a sudden that gives it more confidentiality, saying, hey, guess what? He was there too, and now I got it. But a lot of us don't even know to reach out to our battle buddies and so forth and get those statements to add into those claims to make sure that it gets more power, basically.
Yeah, again,
that's really an important clog in the wheel is the buddy statement, because since I've been doing this, and a veteran will get a denial letter. And in a denial letter, they basically tell you what you need
right.
to submit the claim back. And some guys some veterans that I've dealt with is you mentioned a battle buddy letter is have a hard time, number one, finding the battle buddy, don't understand it, and there are organizations like the American Legion or other organizations that will help you write it, but you need to provide the basic data.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just sitting here listening to you. I mean, there was so much truth in that in regards to compilation of information to move forward. But our listeners need to know that in dealing with your compensations and benefits, you need to understand the tracks.
Yes.
The hospital deals with the medical portion.
Yes.
They're the ones that are doing the evaluations of you. But as you stated before, you need to be very factual with that healthcare provider in telling him or her what your symptoms are and how you think you got those symptoms, because they could be or should be service related.
Yes.
Because in a lot of cases, those healthcare providers do not understand the VA compensation system, and they're not writing in your health records exactly the information that you need. So it's very important that you're clear with your healthcare provider about your injury or your illness that caused you to come into the VA system. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, and always trying to get a copy, if possible, of that healthcare provider's notes.
Yes.
Because if you have a copy of that note, you can review it, and if there's something missing from it, you can relay that information back to that healthcare provider before you take it over to the other side of the house, which is the claim process side, which is the regional VA centers, where they help your VSOs are helping you navigate that process. Because remember, Mr. Walker is W last 4 Social Security number. You are one of millions going through that process. So if you're going to squeak, the oil, get that squeaky wheel, well, that piece of paper is your squeaky wheel. You got to make sure that it's full with information moving to the next level, which is the VSO to the regional center.
And just that understanding too, Anthony, it's like we're all veterans old school, it's not the digital age where you go on a computer and so forth. But guess what? The principle is still the same, whether it's whether it's technology or whether it's by the book. I came in the early 90s and everything was regulation, right? Well, why not read the regulation? The 38 CFR exists, it's public information. Read it and familiarize yourself. Well, okay, I got tinnitus and I got 10%, but now I want to go back and file a claim for a higher rating. But if you read the CFR, the max on it is 10%. And that's the thing we shoot ourselves in the foot with, is we perish for a lack of knowledge. We don't read the CFR. We don't read those letters like Mr. Herman said earlier. Hey, you get a denial letter. It tells you specifically what you need to do in order to appeal it and what you need next. But you look at it and throw it to the side. So now it's like, hey, it's the VA. We have to change that mindset of just disregarding whatever the VA is saying because, hey, in the early 90s, the VA wasn't up to par. Well, they've made changes just like everybody else made changes. But when you take the onus and put it on yourself as a veteran and say, I want to get smart on this myself, then read the 38 CFR. Understand the verbiage and knowledge. If I tell you right now, plantar fasciitis, half of us would be like, what is that? It's a medical term. It's a medical term. So the VA is a part of the medical system. The American Medical Association is what all the hospitals, Emory and all these other major hospitals fall under. Guess what? The VA does as well. When they outsource you now because they're shorthanded, who do they send you to? Community care, which is all of these outside providers under the American Medical Association. But half of them don't understand what the VA requirement is. And then it's like, well, there's a regulation that they want to know what plantar fasciitis is, whether it's the $1,000 word, plantar fasciitis, or it's the layman terms. It's got to match up so we can make sure, and it's our job. If we take ownership on that and we read the regulation for ourselves, we can go in and say, hey, doc, I think I may have plantar fasciitis or I have pain in my feet that started from me wearing boots in the military. Well, just like writing the eval for us in the military, you quantified it and you qualified it just like we did before. There is no change.
That's
totally
good
agree.
Stuff.
Totally
and
agree.
We winding up, and as I always say, WCEG, this program is nonpartisan a group. So where I'm going with this is, you veterans, we got to put skin in the game. In the 6 major organizations, they have state legislature group, they have national legislature group. And I got a call yesterday from someone that's going up next month to Congress and be the veteran department. And this person told me, we gave them a list of over 200 items that we wanted them to act on last year. And Congress and the Department of Veteran Affairs only acted on 4 of them. And that's ridiculous. So how do veterans put skin in the game? You vote, we vote, but who do you vote for? You need to interview your state senators, your congressmen, state representatives, your congressmen, senators, and representatives, and ask them questions about what are they doing for veterans. That's my comment on that.
Yeah, and invite them out. Invite them out to all our different functions. That's a beautiful thing, you know. That's another thing. We perish for a lack of knowledge. You have people who don't understand our community. With the active duty component, we make up 7% of the whole world. But with the veteran community, we're only 3%. That's a small unit when you look at it, but we have a huge impact. So if we can invite these guys out to understand what are we going through, it's one thing to see a piece of paper and see that we need more aid for homeless veterans, or we need more aid for disabled veterans who have vision problems and hearing problems and so forth. But when you're actually talking to somebody and making that connection, that's where the change is going to come from. So instead of us just, going in mass numbers and then putting down stuff and writing different things, get involved and meet these people and let them know who you are. All of us are great Americans, when it's all said and done, and we've all did this sacrifice. But just meeting you guys face to face and actually building that connection, that's what will actually move people. And that's what I hope that we can lean towards moving on in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Would you give us your contact information?
Sure. So I'm at American Legion Post 296 as a Veteran Service Officer. I'm also at the Atlanta Black Chamber Veterans Entrepreneur Group. I'm the vice chair. And here I'm going to be with you guys. So whenever you need me, just let me know. But my number is 770-502-5847. And my email is info, INFO, at helmets2boots.com. It's info at helmets, like the helmets we used to wear, 2boots.com. And also I can be reached at jeremy.walker_44@yahoo.com.
Good information, because we have many veterans out there that are listening that need help. And there are individuals like you, Mr. Walker, that can provide that help. Because as Herman said at the top of the hour, hey, the VA is changing. They don't have enough staff. They're going digital. A lot of veterans don't understand the digital age. Not only there's My Healthy Vet, but there's also e-benefits. There are also a lot of different things out there, a lot of tools. But if they just need to seek it out. Just need to seek it out and get someone to help them if they can't. I met a veteran last year in his 90s, late 90s. He was a Korean War veteran and never filed a claim.
Yes.
Never filed a claim. And just think about all of the millions of dollars that he has just lost that could benefit himself and his family. So with encouragement, we got him to deal with it, go through the process. And because of his age, they kind of try and rush it through. I'm not sure how successful he was, but he was in his 90s.
Yes.
Listen, think how many other veterans are like him.
But look at the era he got out. At that time frame, if you go back to you guys' era to when I got out 7 years ago, the VA wasn't a really big deal. Like you said, Anthony, you got a 5-minute brief. I got a 30-minute brief. And I was like, my 30-minute brief really wasn't, hey, how does the system work? It was like, contact the VA when you get out. What does that mean? Contact the VA when I got out. Well, you're going to have a VA physical coming up. That information is not as important as knowing the process and so forth. And it's gotten better. Like my sister just retired last year. So it's gotten better. But at the same token, it's just like, okay, how do we fix that gap when we're coming up and we're facing getting out? Somebody, again, we need to create a system and an ideology to where most of us know, well, you know what? I can listen to this radio station. I'm going to get this information. Or they can reach out to the American Legion before you get out. Or you can go through the Warrior Alliance. Which organization is really going to help me do this? Can I go to a veteran service officer prior to me getting out the military? No, you can't. You need a DD-214 to actually get seen by the Georgia Department of Services. Well, but you can go to American Legion or a VFW who can help you until you get to that point. And now you can start the process and start getting all the information you need and then hit the VSOs as soon as you get out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Let me give you a little bit of my information. I'm the founder of Veteran Helping Veterans, headquartered in Atlanta. We meet in Riverdale on the third Tuesday. Our contact information is Veteran Helping. Is our email is bvhv3105@gmail.com. Our phone numbers are 470-377-1917 and 404-996-5679. That is Veteran Helping Veterans headquartered in Atlanta. I am also this year the American Legion Post Commander for Post 134 in North Fulton.
Absolutely great, great information. So, but before we leave, we have a few more minutes left. Mr. Walker, all of this came from a mustard seed, and mustard seeds of Miss Penny Rogers. And she thought well enough to we could put truth back into the community. So that was the birth of WCEG Network. And you've been a guest on our show twice because we breathe that great information into the community. So we want to say a big shout out to her. We like to say a big shout out to Ms. Vivian Gray, our studio manager, our production manager that keeps us going and going strong and making sure that we're right. So with that team concept, we're successful. And having people like you, we even become more successful.
And as we say in our introduction, we breathe life in the community. We empower the community. We network. We build relationship. That's really on this appearance. Germany was on our show before, and he sent me an email regarding another event, and worked out that this is one of our great shows. We thank you. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you a lot.
And I will follow up with you.
Continue to do great work. Thank you very much for coming on.
Oh yeah, we're gonna take over Atlanta. That's the goal. We're gonna take over Atlanta in the venture community. So that's my goal since retirement.
That's great. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everyone. And Veteran Helping Veteran, WCEG Network's Veterans Today program. To everyone, have a good weekend. We will be back in 2 weeks.
Good seeing you, Herman.